I'm part of that family now has been enough. I don't need public thanks for what I did on a personal level.
You guys became really close, and even he stayed with you after he was shot.
I had a low profile, and they didn't know we were friends.
After staying quiet for so long, Jasmine Guy finally reveals what most fans never figured out about A Different World, 1987. But what does this have to do with Tupac Shakur? Who was she really protecting all those years? The secret she kept from the world. The world has known her as Whitley Gilbert, the sophisticated Southern belle from A Different World, but very few ever knew about the secret she kept hidden for decades. She revealed that in 1994, when Tupac Shakur was fired 5 times, he found refuge not in a hospital or a guarded compound, but in her small apartment in Manhattan. The confession shocked many. How could the woman best known for elegance and poise have secretly sheltered one of hip-hop's most controversial figures during one of the darkest moments in his life? Yet, as she spoke, her composure carried no regret, only calm acceptance. Her tone reflected how time had softened the fear she once carried, turning it into wisdom. But back then, there was nothing calm about her world. Behind her serene public image had been chaos, secrecy, and danger that could have ended her career in an instant. During the late 80s and early 90s, Jasmine Guy was living the dream of many young actresses. Her role in A Different World had made her a television icon. Fans loved her as Whitley Gilbert, a character who embodied wealth, class, and Southern charm. On screen, she was polished, graceful, and untouchable. Yet off-screen, her life told a very different story. While Whitley represented privilege and poise, Jasmine was navigating a world filled with challenges and quiet responsibilities. She was part of a generation of black artists trying to maintain dignity in an industry that often demanded silence in exchange for visibility. Her ability to stay out of tabloids was not a matter of luck. It was a deliberate choice. She avoided unnecessary public appearances, refused to chase attention, and kept her private life tightly guarded. That quietness would one day become her greatest protection. When Tupac was fired and left vulnerable, he needed a place that no one would suspect, a place completely off the radar. Jasmine's anonymity provided that shield. She was famous enough to be trusted, but not the kind of celebrity the press constantly followed. That rare balance made her home a safe haven in a city where secrets were hard to keep. Inside her small apartment, Jasmine's world changed overnight. Her living room became an improvised recovery ward. Blood-stained bandages, medication, and whispered conversations filled the space once reserved for peace. She had no medical training, yet she cleaned wounds, changed dressings, and made sure he had what he needed to heal. Every sound outside her door carried the risk of exposure. The smallest knock could have brought police, reporters, or even enemies. Still, she stayed calm, relying on instinct rather than experience. The tension grew as members of Tupac's family, including his mother, Afeni Shakur, began visiting discreetly. Afeni, once a Black Panther and a strong voice for justice, shared her son's fiery spirit. Their presence brought both comfort and conflict. The family wanted closeness, but Jasmine knew every visitor increased the risk. Every morning brought new fear. Fear of being caught, fear of losing her reputation, fear of losing everything she had worked for. Hollywood could be unforgiving, and helping a man linked to violence could have ended her career. Still, she couldn't turn away. She carried not only the burden of secrecy, but also the responsibility of care. As Jasmine opened up about her private act of courage, she also began to speak about another truth, that A Different World was not only revolutionary in its storytelling, but also a victim of the very system it tried to challenge. The unseen battle behind A Different World. When A Different World first appeared on television in 1987, it became a cultural spark that changed how millions viewed Black life. Set at Hillman College, a fictional historically black institution, the show gave viewers something they had never seen before. Black students living, learning, and growing with pride, humor, and ambition. It celebrated intelligence, culture, and community. Families across America tuned in each week, laughing and learning through the experiences of characters who looked like them and faced real challenges with dignity. But behind that joy and laughter, there was another story that few people outside the cast and crew ever saw. While audiences celebrated the brilliance of the show, the television industry was quietly working to limit its success. What appeared to be a creative triumph was also a constant battle for visibility, fairness, and recognition. A Different World was more than entertainment. It was an education in identity, unity, and pride. For many young viewers, it was their first time seeing college life from a black perspective, not as a dream, but as a reality. The show tackled subjects that most series avoided: class differences, colorism, cultural pride, and social responsibility. Its influence reached beyond television, inspiring a generation to pursue education and self-awareness. Despite its groundbreaking message, the network behind it treated it as an experiment rather than a long-term investment. Executives hesitated to fully promote it, uncertain if America was ready for a sitcom centered on black excellence without stereotypes. While the cast and creative team poured their energy into authenticity, the industry seemed determined to downplay their success. The show thrived because of its powerful writing, led by people who understood black culture, and its strong cast, guided by Debbie Allen's creative direction. But even as ratings rose, awards and major recognition were missing. Behind the scenes, there was frustration, not for lack of talent, but because the system was not built to celebrate them. From the beginning, A Different World was competing against a bias that went far beyond numbers. Every season, despite its strong audience and critical praise, major award bodies ignored it. While shows of lesser quality earned nominations and trophies, this series received little acknowledgement. For Jasmine Guy, this was not just disappointing, it was revealing. She saw how excellence was noticed, but not rewarded. The industry's silence was not accidental. It was a message that even success had limits when it came from black creators. The cast poured their hearts into stories that uplifted and inspired millions, but recognition never followed. Jasmine understood that their achievements were being quietly pushed aside to keep the spotlight elsewhere. It wasn't about lack of talent, it was about control. Hollywood had always chosen which narratives to celebrate, and A Different World did not fit the image they wanted to promote. The production company behind the show, Carsey Werner, also produced several other popular sitcoms: Roseanne, Grace Under Fire, and The Cosby Show. While those shows received extensive publicity, front-page magazine features, and award campaigns, A Different World remained in the background. When other series in the same family were praised, given primetime promotions, and showered with attention, A Different World quietly carried the network's Thursday lineup without acknowledgement. Even music was treated unfairly. The show had several talented singers in its cast, including Dawn Lewis and Cree Summer, yet none were highlighted. Meanwhile, someone like Roseanne Barr, known for her lack of musical skill, was given the national stage to perform the anthem. The contrast was glaring. It wasn't just about favoritism, it was about who was considered worthy of national celebration. Hollywood's system had long celebrated mediocrity when it came from white performers, while demanding perfection from black artists just to be noticed. A Different World exceeded expectations, but instead of being embraced, it was treated like a risk that needed to be contained. Hollywood had mastered the art of exclusion without confrontation. No one openly said that the show was being sidelined because of race, yet every decision made it clear. There were fewer magazine features, less press coverage, and limited financial investment compared to similar productions. Years later, when Friends arrived, the similarities were striking. A group of young adults navigating life, love, and personal growth, but this time entirely white. Friends received full marketing campaigns, international promotion, and countless awards. Its stars became instant global icons, each receiving opportunities to move into film. Meanwhile, the cast of A Different World was left to find new paths on their own. The difference was not talent, it was access. The same network that had held back one show poured everything into another with the same format but a different face. What had been considered too specific when told through black voices suddenly became universal when told through white ones. It was a quiet, painful example of how Hollywood erased black innovation by repackaging it through whiteness. For Jasmine, the unfairness went deeper than professional disappointment. What started as admiration turned into quiet theft, a reminder that Hollywood could not silence black excellence, but it could try to steal it. Stolen ideas and silent struggles. After the success of A Different World, Jasmine Guy stood at a crossroads. She had achieved recognition as an actress, dancer, and cultural icon, but she wanted more than fame. She wanted creative control. Years in front of the camera had shown her how often black artists were silenced or limited by those who made the decisions behind the scenes. Determined to change that, she decided to start her own small production company. It was a bold step in a system that rarely made room for black women to lead. Jasmine's production company was built on a simple but strong idea to tell stories that reflected truth, depth, and culture. She had lived long enough in the entertainment world to know how often black experiences were flattened into stereotypes. Her goal was to create content that challenged that pattern. She began pitching original concepts to networks and studios, each one rooted in personal and cultural authenticity. Some ideas came from her experiences on stage, some from her community, and others from the quiet observations she had gathered over the years. Her shows reflected struggle, love, and resilience, with characters who were complex and human. These were not ordinary ideas. They were bold, layered, and unapologetically real. She wrote about survival, about identity, and about the emotional lives of people rarely seen on mainstream television. To her, creativity was not just art, it was truth-telling. Yet, as she soon discovered, Hollywood was not ready to listen. Each time she presented her projects, the response was the same: polite rejection. Executives told her the ideas were too niche, too urban, or not marketable. The words were repeated so often that they began to sound rehearsed. Jasmine understood what those phrases truly meant, that her stories were too black, too honest, and too challenging for a system that preferred comfort over confrontation. The pain deepened when, months or years later, she began to see her ideas reappear on television, but in altered forms. The same stories she had been told were not marketable were suddenly greenlit, now featuring white actresses in lead roles. One of her concepts had been a spy thriller inspired by La Femme Nikita, focused on a powerful black woman navigating espionage and moral conflict. It was rejected as unrealistic, yet soon after, a similar story appeared with a white actress playing the same type of role, receiving promotion, praise, and attention. Another of her pitches was a dramedy about a woman who inherits a small sweatshop from a gay friend who passed away for peace from AIDS. The story mixed humor and heartache, exploring loss, guilt, and survival through friendship and responsibility. The network passed on it, calling it too sensitive. Yet, a short time later, a show appeared that followed almost the same plot, with barely any changes except that every major character was white. For Jasmine, the realization hit like a cold wave. Her ideas were not unwanted, They were simply unwanted from her. The experience went beyond professional loss. It became personal pain. Seeing her creative work stripped of credit and transformed into someone else's success left her disillusioned. It wasn't just about money or recognition. It was about dignity. Creativity is deeply personal, and to have it taken, altered, and celebrated under another name was a violation that words could barely describe. But Jasmine soon understood that what happened to her was not an isolated case. It was part of a larger pattern that had existed for decades: the quiet exploitation of Black creativity. The entertainment industry often mined Black artists for fresh ideas, authentic dialogue, and cultural rhythm, only to remove the people who created them when it was time for production and reward. It was a system designed to benefit from diversity without sharing power. Black ideas were useful, but Black ownership was not. This cycle repeated across generations of artists, musicians, writers, actors, and directors, all watching their creativity turned into profit for others. Jasmine had joined a long list of creators who gave birth to visions that the world loved but never linked to their names. The pain of seeing her work erased reminded her of what had happened to a different world. That show had also carried innovation that others later copied and celebrated. The lessons Tupac left behind. At 63, Jasmine Guy no longer saw fame as a goal. For her, success had become a reflection of loyalty, respect, and emotional truth. Years earlier, she had learned those lessons in ways few people ever would. Helping Tupac Shakur during his recovery changed her understanding of friendship, revealing that real integrity came not from red carpets or interviews, but from silent acts of courage that no one was supposed to see. That experience became her life's most defining chapter, one that redefined her relationship with fame, loyalty, and identity. Jasmine came to understand that loyalty was not about public gestures or social media statements. It was about standing beside someone when the rest of the world had turned away. She had seen the difference between Hollywood's version of loyalty, full of networking, convenience, and public relations, and the raw, unfiltered loyalty that existed in Tupac's world. For people like him, loyalty was a matter of life or death, an unspoken rule that bound friends and family tighter than any contract. When she helped him recover in her home, Jasmine learned what true integrity felt like. She did not expect public thanks, headlines, or acknowledgement. The strength of that loyalty came from doing something right, even when no one else would ever know. The risk was enormous. Harboring a man recently wounded and entangled in controversy could have ended her career. Yet she stayed firm. That quiet resolve showed her that loyalty was not about safety or recognition. It was about compassion that asked for nothing in return. The cultural divide between her world and Tupac's was immense. She had come from structured sets, costume fittings, and rehearsed emotions, while Tupac's life was lived in chaos, danger, and deep authenticity. Hollywood taught her how to perform perfection. Tupac's world taught her how to survive imperfection. When she first heard one of Afeni Shakur's friends call her a soldier, she did not understand what it meant. To them, a soldier was not someone in uniform, but anyone who fought silently to protect what mattered most. She soon realized she was part of their struggle, not a battle of bullets, but of endurance, loyalty, and dignity. Afeni Shakur's arrival in her apartment changed everything. Afeni was not just Tupac's mother. She was a revolutionary spirit whose strength filled every room she entered. Her sharp awareness and deep love for her son left an impression on Jasmine that lasted decades. Through Afeni, Jasmine saw what family truly meant, not just blood ties, but shared resilience. Her apartment quickly became a center of conflicting emotions. Friends and relatives came and went, sometimes bringing noise, laughter, or tension. Jasmine tried to maintain calm in that small space, balancing compassion with her need for privacy. The experience was emotionally exhausting, but it showed her what unity under pressure truly looked like. Eventually, the chaos became organized. Afeni and Jasmine reached a form of silent agreement. Visits were rotated, rest was enforced, and the apartment became both a sanctuary and a symbol of trust. The experience broke the boundaries Jasmine had once drawn between her life and others. She was no longer just an actress from television. She was part of a movement of survival and care, shaped by people who understood love through action, not words. When Tupac finally recovered enough to leave, Jasmine's apartment felt emptier, but her heart carried the weight of everything that had happened. She did not see herself as a savior or a heroine. She simply did what loyalty demanded. Afterward, she became known to the Shakur family as more than just a friend. She became family. The trust they offered her was unconditional, and the respect she earned would never fade. It was an unspoken connection built not on fame, but on shared humanity. In the years that followed, Jasmine kept that chapter of her life private. She never sought to tell her story for profit or publicity. The silence was her tribute to what they had endured together. Over time, she began to understand that the true beauty of loyalty was its quietness. In a world where people broadcast their every good deed, she took pride in having kept one of the greatest secrets in entertainment history, a secret defined by kindness and courage, not by scandal. When Jasmine finally spoke publicly about those days, she did it not for attention, but to honor the legacy of trust that had shaped her. The legacy of secrets and survival. After decades of silence, Jasmine Guy carries her memories not as burdens, but as living reminders of courage, compassion, and truth. Her final encounter with Tupac Shakur remains one of the most vivid in her heart, a moment that represented both closure and awakening. When she saw him again after his 11-month prison sentence, the man standing before her was no longer the wounded figure she had once nursed back to strength in her Manhattan apartment. That visit took place in Stone Mountain, Georgia, at Afeni Shakur's modest home. Jasmine noticed how peace had replaced the chaos she once witnessed in that small New York apartment years earlier. Afeni's presence was still commanding, but there was tenderness in her eyes now, a silent pride in seeing her son free again, though the world around him remained as dangerous as ever. When he spoke of not expecting to live past 25, she brushed it off as his usual blend of poetry and fatalism. But after his death, those words became a wound that never truly healed. For years, Jasmine replayed that meeting in her mind. She wondered if her act of compassion had delayed rather than prevented a tragedy that seemed destined to happen. The idea that she had once saved a life that would later be lost filled her with sadness, not because she regretted helping, but because she wished she could have done more. Over time, that guilt softened into grace. Jasmine learned to see her role not as a failed rescue, but as a moment of mercy in a chaotic story. She realized that life is measured not by how long we keep someone safe, but by what we give them in their most fragile moments. Those 2 weeks she spent protecting Tupac were not wasted time. They were an act of love, faith, and quiet bravery. When she finally accepted that, the heaviness lifted. She began to view her actions as a blessing, not only to Tupac, but to herself. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.